Welcome to the weekend edition of National Focus. I'm Kerdisha St. Louis. Coming up, Dominica partners with the IAEA for development solutions. Local historian Lennox Honychurch launches a latest book, and Assistant Chief Education Officer calls for teachers to move away from routine teaching. Stay tuned for these and other stories after this.
Did you know the Caribbean Court of Justice is two courts in one? The CCJ has two functions: an original jurisdiction, which deals with your right to move between CARICOM countries freely, and your right to move your money and your business. This is the basis of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME, and the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, and an appellate jurisdiction to hear appeals from courts of those countries which decide to use it as their final court of appeal and no longer go to the Privy Council. All CARICOM member states who have signed the agreement establishing the CCJ are members of the CCJ.
Thanks for staying with us. Dominica has partnered with the International Atomic Energy Agency to develop solutions for persistent and damaging health and agriculture issues. On Saturday, July 5th, two consultants of the IAEA left the island after almost 2 weeks of discussion on how nuclear energy can bring benefits to Dominica in specific areas. The Dominica Bureau of Standards has been selected as the national focal point for coordinating the efforts of the IAEA on the island. Craig Hamilton, an analytical chemist with the Bureau of Standards, is the Assistant National Liaison Officer. He was part of a team visiting the IAEA International Center in Vienna, Austria in March.
We were invited to Vienna for a training on how to do our roles, carry out our roles. And during that visit, we also had a tour of the IAEA lab, nuclear science lab. And there, it was a very eye-opening experience because the type of activities, the type of tests that was being fine-tuned at the lab. And it was the first time I had done things on tissue culture before, but that was the first time I saw banana trees growing in some flasks. And mosquitoes, a host of mosquitoes in one room being entrapped, or fruit flies in one room being entrapped, you know. So this activity had us thinking of how the IAEA and its activities could help us in Dominica.
Hamilton described his observations at the IAEA lab in Vienna.
They were working with fruit flies, how to sterilize the males and release them in the population so that you will have, even though they mate, there'll be less offsprings because the males are sterilized using nuclear science. They were checking some chikungunya because a country had sent that project to them, so they were looking at mosquitoes to check chikungunya. They were also investigating how to make a better production of cassava. They had bananas, and they were testing different bananas using nuclear science as to how they could make this banana plant more resistant to the weather, more resistant to pests, and so on.
Following that visit to Austria, scientists of the International Atomic Energy Agency visited Dominica, taking the partnership another step further.
We invited them to Dominica to have a mission, and the mission was really twofold. One, to find out where we have existing radioactive material.
During the consultant's stay on the island, meetings were held to determine project ideas or concept notes.
This was very well accomplished, I must say. We met with the different stakeholders in many departments in the ministries that are critical to the IAEA, namely Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Agriculture. These are the ministries that are really beneficiaries of the program. And there a lot of different project ideas were put forth. I remember one very interesting one was submitted by the Forestry Division. And that was to measure and evaluate the amount of carbon in the forest and to try to capture that carbon. And they want you to get some expertise because that would help with the climate change issue. Then the Agriculture Department had submitted 2 interesting projects. One that deals with the management of fruit flies, which have been affecting our fruits and hence our exports to the outside market. And they also submitted a project idea on artificial insemination of ruminants in order for it to increase production in making way to the abattoir.
The Black Sikatoka issue submitted to the IAEA by another country is already under investigation. Hamilton revealed that the search for radioactive material on the island will receive the agency's full attention when the team arrives in October. The next and most important step in this partnership is the establishment of a legal framework and regulatory body to govern the efforts in Dominica. In that regard, another team of legal experts will visit the island in August to provide technical support in drafting the documents. Since capacity building is also a large aspect of the IAEA's methods, Paul Richard Xavier of the Ministry of Legal Affairs will travel to the Law Institute in Austria in October to be trained in that regard. Hamilton has urged Dominicans not to limit the capabilities of atomic energy to destruction, but to give the idea a chance since it has been proven to work in several fields in African, Asian, European, Latin American, and Pacific countries.
Must assure them that the IAEA has expert physicists who have been working with nuclear for the longest while. They have helped a number of countries to solve agricultural problems, forestry problems, climate change problems, fisheries problems, and there are no known recorded side effects of their intervention. Also, the amount of radiation that they are using is so small that if we are exposed to the X-ray, if you have an X-ray, you will be exposed to more radiation than what they are using because they only need a small piece to do some genetic variations in the genes of a seed or a sperm cell or whatever. It doesn't take much. And this radiation does not linger into the organism or specimen. As it is used, after a few minutes, a few hours, it dissipates into the atmosphere.
In other news, many high school students are taking early entrepreneurship to new heights. Agro-processing has become a major source of self-development and income for these students. On July 11th, the Division of Agriculture conducted a panel discussion hosted by Petra Girl Schillingford with guests from the Portsmouth Secondary School. Business teacher and coordinator for the PSS Entrepreneurship Program, Rosalind Matthew, expounded on the role of the entrepreneurship program for these students.
We have our entrepreneurship program where students from any form, from first form to fifth form, once they have a business idea and they're very passionate about it, we help them. We help them through providing consultation, we find markets, and we help them to really develop the product up to shelf life level.
Matthew also revealed that the Portsmouth Secondary School places a great deal of emphasis on agriculture.
We have an agricultural department, HOD and other teachers in that department, and they engage in poultry rearing. They also engage in greenhouses. They plant passion fruit, bell peppers, also celery, parsley, etc. And they sell the produce to supermarkets, especially Honychurch, IGA. As a matter of fact, every 6 to 8 weeks, about 40 to 50 chickens are sold to Honychurch, and also to, many of the teachers, we purchase our chicken, and the bell peppers, passion fruit, parsley, celery, etc.
PRO of the PSS Junior Achievement Company and EcoGuards Company, Tatiana Baron, noted that creativity plays a big role in product creation.
A mind of creativity, you know what you are about. All you have to do is think outside the box, think like what people need, what they will buy, and then you produce.
Former Portsmouth Secondary School student and production manager of Nature's Essentials, Aoife Georges, says response from the public has been above her expectations.
A lot of people meet us, they tell us they love our products, they want more, and sometimes the demands are so high, and many times we cannot keep up to them, but we try our best.
In more news, Assistant Chief Education Officer in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Jeffrey Blaise, put away his scripted papers and engaged a room full of teachers in what he described as a raw but real talk on moving away from routine teaching. Blaise was addressing the opening ceremony of a summer workshop for teachers on Thursday. According to the Assistant Chief Education Officer, with the rise of technology in present times, it is important now more than ever for teachers to redefine what teaching is in the classroom. In that regard, Blaise highlighted the art of reflection as a key aspect in teacher development.
There are many different types of reflection. The most critical may be reflection in action, where you are reflecting on what you do while you're teaching. Is it really working for me as a teacher? Is it working for the students? Are they really getting it? And many times we deliver lessons, and at the end of the day we say our students don't get it, but we rarely say, boy, we did not teach it as it's supposed to be taught. Yes, most often teachers say the students didn't pass the test. Did they really get the information as expected? Was the test really testing what you taught? So you're testing them to transfer knowledge and skills, but you had not taught them to do that. So are you really testing what you are teaching? And that is where reflection interfaces with teaching. When the teacher is ready to seek deep inside and see what can I do on a day-to-day basis to improve my delivery, to improve my competence.
Another important aspect of advancing in teaching, Blaise said, is research.
Teaching is inherently research-based. The teacher needs to know the context in which he or she operates, the school context, the classroom context, the student's context, their socioeconomic background, their cognitive skills, etc. You are very well aware that teachers do prerequisite knowledge tests, yes? What they call pretest. That is a form of research. So you do your pretest, you really research the background information and knowledge of the students in terms of their cognitive skills. You plan a lesson, you deliver the lesson, and then you test, which is really trying to find in a research environment what the students have actually gathered. But even within that process, you are also doing a lot of research because you are understanding the different learning styles of students, and you are amending or adjusting your teaching strategies to cater for those needs. And that is research.
Blaise believes that Dominica's overall research ethic can be improved.
It's unfortunate that in Dominica, we have a limited research background and environment. Very little research is done, and very rarely we interface with research studies and empirical evidence. So people say things that are not grounded on any empirical evidence. That is not, these things are not researched, and they are not interrogated. In other words, they're not questioned. And we make statements, and sad to say, even the media hardly even question us in a profound manner. So where did you get that information? Yes? What is your source? Is it empirical evidence? What was your research procedure? Yeah? What was your methodology?
Lastly, Blaise touched on value-added learning, explaining to the teachers the impact a class teacher has on a student throughout the entire year spent in the classroom. Blaise believes that Dominican teachers can become exemplary professionals in this area. The DAT and CTF annual summer workshop will take place at the Convent High School over the course of the next 2 weeks. On Thursday, Dominican's very own historian, Dr. Lennox Honychurch, officially launched his newest book titled Neg Mao, The Fighting Maroons of Dominica. The book serves as a stirring account of how a displaced and enslaved people fought to create a free and self-sufficient society. The ceremony also commemorated the 200th anniversary of the Second Maroon War and the death of Maroon Chief Jacko in July 1814. Representing the Roseau City Council, Councillor Vanessa Prevost expressed words of commendation and encouragement to Dr. Honychurch, a man whom, according to many, has dedicated his entire life to telling the Dominica story.
It is so very important that we remember the past, even as we move forward in the development of our country. Dr. Honychurch has once again, through his book, given us another opportunity to learn about our history and about our own local heroes who fought for our liberty. I wish to extend the Council's sincere congratulations to you, Dr. Honychurch, on this new publication. We applaud your efforts in chronicling our history and preserving our past, and we encourage you to continue in your quest to educate our citizens.
Former Chief Cultural Officer Raymond Lawrence said it is critical to understand one's culture and thus considers the book a salute to the vital contribution African slaves and marooned made to our freedom, emancipation, and culture.
It was Marcus Garvey who said that a country without a knowledge of its history and culture is like a tree without roots. It's important that we as a nation are aware of our history and culture in order that we can understand where we have come from and what it is which has contributed to making us who we are today. Our African history in Dominica is a very essential part of who we are as a nation, because most Dominicans are descendants from our African forefathers. And most of us have a mother, father, grandfather, grandmother who had African ancestry. So this is why it is critical as a nation that we know all of our history, which I should add also includes the Kalinago history.
The history of Africans in the Caribbean is one of great suffering, toil, sweat, and tears, but also one of strength and courage, struggle and resistance, triumph, and the very handing down of a very rich and powerful legacy that significantly influenced Dominica's culture. The book launching took place at the Barracoon Building, the very location where slaves brought from Africa were once housed before sold. A presentation of books was made to the National Library Service, officials, and the Diplomatic Corps. Books will be on sale at a reduced launching price of EC $30. And before we leave, here's an announcement from the Environmental Ministry. The government of Dominica wishes to engage the services of a social specialist to provide the social support to the Project Coordination Unit during the implementation of the Disaster Vulnerability Risk Reduction Project. Duties include examining and evaluating all activities proposed by individual sub-projectors and to determine which mitigation measures are needed. Prospective candidates should have a minimum of the following: a bachelor's degree in social sciences, demonstrated experience or a minimum of 5 years in the field of social development, project planning and project implementation skills. Salary is negotiable and will depend on qualifications and experience. Interested individuals must provide information indicating that they are qualified to perform the services. Inquiries and other documents may be sent via mail or email or fax and delivered to Harold Geist, Permanent Secretary, the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources, Fiscal Planning and Fisheries, or email psagriculture@dominica.gov.gm by July 18, 2014. And that's the English news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Creole highlights.
Allô tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Non, moi, c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, plusieurs projets de l'eau qui bâti tout mon pays là à présent. Parole celle-là sortie du ministre management de l'eau, Honorable Reginald Ostring.
Nous avons un projet VECAS, nous avons un projet Savannah en Scottshead, nous avons un projet West Coast Water Supply. Et ça nous avons bâti un gros tank pour nous faire certain que nous finissons de bâtir tank ça là, Grand Savannah en Salisbury, Kenny-Glo, l'eau potable pour la première fois en la vie. Nous avons essayé aussi pour nous faire improvement en Water Area 1, ça c'est en Springfield. Comme ça, Water Area 1, Kabak, Glo, Hod, Port Bozo, pour me voir Saint Joe, pour les Scottshead. Il y a plus de 30 000 personnes qui ont bénéficié de Glo ça. Et nous avons fait un tank à Massacre, nous avons fait un plus gros tank en Springfield, et nous avons mis une intake là plus haut. Parce que là, intake là, il est présent, il est trop bas. Avec chaque temps là, plus tombé, il a plein l'arbre, avec wash, avec débris. Comme ça, nous avons essayé pour nous mettre un petit peu plus haut. Comme ça, on l'autre travail qu'a fait en secteur de l'eau.
Ministre Ostring a crié à ces monde pour apprécier l'importance de l'eau.
Moi déjà dit, je ne sais pas quoi Dominique apprécier l'investissement là, avec l'effort que le gouvernement a fait pour nous faire certain qui nous toujours de l'eau. On est catché les McPherson, comment le pays là, il est levé au bon matin, et bien on a un problème de l'eau, panique de l'eau. C'est un peu là où Dominique a apprécié, il a créé radio, il a créé Dawasco, nous water in Kings Hill, nous water in Maho, nous water in Goodwill, nous water in Belfast. Comme ça, nous ne pouvons jamais apprécier l'effort de l'eau tout temps nous pas perdu l'eau là pour yon ou 2 jours. C'est den nous ka savent comment important l'eau là est. Mais moi voulais Dominique commencer à apprécier effort là et investissement la gouvernement qu'a fait qu'a mettre en affaire pour faire ça ou tel qui Dominique qui toujours néglo pour yo boire.
En autre nouvelle, plusieurs teachers tout mon pays a reçu un trainement sinon un workshop qui l'association Teacher Dominique organisé par eux. Selon président association Teacher Dominique Sylvia Nicolas, trainement là bien important pour le développement de ces teachers là.
Nous avons professional development. Là où on a un job, on passe à assise là, avait dit, ou taper tout. Plus, comme Dr. Blaise dit, tout le temps nous pour réfléchir. Nous avons fait biter bon, nous pas faire bon, zafa ka vini, zafa kan changer, moun kan changer, nous pas ça faire même biter là toute l'année. Avait ini moun qui ka vini, yo pas ko train, yo pas ko aller à university or college pour train pour aller pour teach children. So nous ka coupon teacher say oh easy job, c'est pas job easy. Tout le monde ka fait ou kan aller à leur classe ou become a teacher. C'est pas comme ça. Please, là où damage les brains aux enfants, ça c'est serious matter. Ces teachers a pas ça you ka faire. So nous ka bio training là, c'est pas assez.
En autre nouvelle, management solid waste qu'a fait parole qui est bien satisfait manière publique là, quand IAEA initiative, quand conseil recycling et puis management zolisayo. Coopération là lancé un programme l'année là où la public là tapé mané pour agir épisodes là arrivé en landfill là. Plusieurs occasions en Dominique point pas un programme là qu'on village à ses côtés Atlantique pays là la Coudoué Mzol Epicenter Roma. Officier coopération là Florian Mitchell fait parole qui consommateurs Dominique bien à bord et puis programme là et puis bien satisfait. Mitchell des citoyens pays là comme tu es l'anti-way chain Dominique Pays Eco. Coopération là, quand on masse zodis, une fois par semaine, et puis l'autre semaine là, il y a point zodis pour recycle. Coopération là, ni sac pour mettre recyclables en l'office village contre tout mon pays là, et puis en l'office ailleurs, en Goodwill. Finalement, ça fait on sell la place pour commodité pays région là, c'est pour bénéfice pays CARICOM. Parole celle-là sorti au Labor Commissioner Mafou Liblan. Si l'on met ces Liblan, il y a d'autres bénéfices pour ces pays-là.
Dominique Panio en pile monde, ça veut dire si il y a quelque chose à faire, si c'est piment d'eau qu'a produit, et veut un piment d'eau pour vendre, et veut tout piment d'eau pour vendre Dominique. Ou ça voyez piment d'eau anti, ou ça voyez piment d'eau Saint Kitts Monstrat pour vendre. So c'est ça nous qu'a pensé, nous qu'a travaillé red pour moun qu'a connaît plus contre carré comme ça là. So, il y a l'autre objectif, ce n'est pas seulement pour marcher comme là, ce n'est pas seulement pour relations internationales, pour nous, une seule voix, pour nous plus fort, pour nous, ça parler bas moun, pour y comprendre nous, c'est une région, nous, c'est divers petits pays, mais nous, travaillons ensemble pour développer comme nous. C'est là nous, parler bas les autres pays, un pays plus avancé, plus riche, qui n'a l'argent qui ça aide nous, nous parler qu'on y voit. So, si il y a quelque chose pour taper, nous, tout que c'est pas un petit morceau, mais nous, travaillons ensemble, chaque monde, ça tape quelque chose pour nous améliorer la vie de nous.
Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelle en créole pour à présent. Moi, c'est McPherson Luce. Et un bon week-end. Au revoir.
Coming up next, tips for improving your vocabulary.
Did you know the Caribbean Court of Justice is 2 courts in 1? The CCJ has 2 functions, an original jurisdiction, which deals with your right to move between CARICOM countries freely and your right to move your money and your business. This is the basis of the CARICOM Single Market and Economy, CSME, and the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, and an appellate jurisdiction to hear appeals from courts of those countries which decide to use it as their final court of appeal and no longer go to the Privy Council. All CARICOM member states who have signed the agreement establishing the CCJ are members of the CCJ.
You asked for it. See more evidence of development right here on the Government Information Service.
Here are some tips you can use to improve your vocabulary. Tip 1. Read, read, read. Most vocabulary words are learned from context. The more words you're exposed to, the better vocabulary you will have. Tip 2. Improve your context skills. Research shows that the vast majority of words are learned from context. Tip 3. Practice, practice, practice. Learning a word won't help very much if you promptly forget it. Tip 4. Make up as many associations and connections as possible. And tip 5. Get in the habit of looking up words you don't know. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm. Friend us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/GIS News Dominica. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. On behalf of the GIS News Production team, I'm Kerdisha. Thanks for watching.